Recording in
Yeah,
progress.
sorry. The public wasn't let in until right at 6.
Okay, sorry. I thought I was starting right at 6.
You might have been on your end. So just to recap, we have a motion to approve the minutes from Luis and a second from Rafi. Kim,
Yes.
Rafi,
Yes.
Luis,
Yes.
and then Shruti has just joined us. We are currently voting on the minutes. If you would like to participate in that, yeah.
Yes.
So do you vote yes, Shruti?
Yes, I do. And also,
Okay.
I'm having problems with my sound, so I'm going to try to.
Yeah. I was just going to ask if you could turn it up. That would be great if that's possible.
It's at the max, so I'm just going to.
Okay.
No.
No worries. We'll work with it. All righty. Police Department business.
So in your packet, you have a copy of all of the statistics, which I'll just see if you have questions on those. I did want to go over the training. In the packet is the crime trends in major cases. Again, this month we've had an uptick in the number of shots fired calls. That continues to be something that we are monitoring. It's pretty random all over the city where it's happening at. We also had an attempted abduction on the west side of town, and through some good detective work, we were able to locate the person and take him into custody. He tried to grab a woman on a Saturday afternoon in the middle of the afternoon or early afternoon to pull her into his car, and she was able to fight him off and get away. And pretty quickly after that, we were able to locate the vehicle and make an arrest in that case. Training hours, we had 1,252 hours. The highlights were law enforcement resiliency and peer support. We started a peer support team for officers who had been involved in a traumatic event or having any kind of other issues where they need some peer support. Mental health first aid, we also completed, and we did our mandatory training block, which is courses that are set forth by the state and the academy that we have to do every year. Touch on community engagement just a little bit. We had 5 events. We have another event coming up on Thursday evening at the Switchyard Station. We are going to be doing it's pretty much our first foray since COVID into doing community outreach again. It is, again, Thursday night from 6 to 7:30. We're going to have our social workers and our community service specialists there for people to meet. And we're also going to have a presentation on NIBRS, which replaced the UCR data. And so people are always asking questions about that. And so our analyst is going to be there to talk about NIBRS. Some past stuff we did a vaccination clinic with the Monroe County Humane Society. Our DRO worked with them in setting that up, and that basically focused on people who were experiencing homelessness who had pets and were not able to get their pets vaccinated, and so we set that together. We also had a touch a truck on June 9th, and we had a visit to the Middleway House, or that's upcoming, a visit to Middleway House to talk with the kids that are there. Our social worker stats, there were 18 referrals, 151 contacts. We did add our 3rd social worker to the department this past month. She's in training, so she's not quite yet doing anything out on her own yet. Her name is Mallory Fagan. The numbers are down this month a little bit because we had one of the social workers was out on a week of training, and so it was just the 2 new social workers who were there doing stuff on their own yet. That's about it for staff and training.
All righty. There was one thing that jumped out to me. The juvenile referrals jumped up from last year from 10 to 28. I'm just wondering if there's any, you've identified any particular reason for that.
Not really. We have noticed that there were some juveniles that were involved in some more serious stuff, and so that may attribute to it. But I don't know offhand if there's anything in particular that stood out.
All right, thank you.
Is it possible that this data could be potentially, I don't want to say disaggregated by, I guess, violent crime? And again, I guess in stating that, is it, I guess, would it be legal for the police to report the data that we're looking at now in terms of just, I guess like violent crimes versus, destruction of properties, things like that?
Well, if a juvenile has been moved to adult court, we can report on what the crimes were, but otherwise, there are confidentiality requirements that we have to follow with regard to juvenile information.
So I guess in terms of the way that we're looking at data, is this the best that BPD, I guess, is this essentially, the best that we can do, based on, again, what the law will allow?
Pretty much, yes.
Okay.
All right, moving on to letters of appreciation and commendation.
There's one in the packet, but I'll be honest, I think it's ours, but I don't know for certain because it doesn't really mention anything. It's just a note to say thank you for dedication and strength during these difficult times from a resident. So
Sounds plausible. All right, general business.
general business, I don't really have anything to add. I will make mention of the fact that we have, you may have heard some discussion about the future of policing task force that I am assisting with and providing information. They met for the first time on Monday, and the goal is to have some recommendations from that citizen-led group on the future of policing and how we want to move forward with that over the next 3 to 5 years. So I will try to provide monthly updates to the Board of Safety on that. Again, it is a group of citizens who volunteered to look at this. Myself, Beverly Callender Anderson, are I guess you could say liaisons to the group to kind of help answer question and provide them with information that they might need to make decisions.
Can you also provide us with a roster of individuals when you report the next time?
Yeah, I'll try to get that for you.
Okay, appreciate it.
All righty, should we be anticipating any major expenditures coming through in the near
For
future?
that, or is that
Oh, no, for the next agenda item.
the next item? Yeah, there was a claim for around $25,000. We built a new weight room and we got new weight equipment, and that follows one of the recommendations from the 21st Century Policing Report on officer wellness. It was something that our old weight room was really too small and the equipment was old, so we've converted some space we had at the training center into a much larger weight room and bought new weight equipment for the officers so that they can remain fit and healthy.
Excellent. Okay, moving to personnel matters. Can I get a okay, go ahead.
In your packet are 2 letters of recommendation for promotion to senior police officer for Thomas Kruzman and Sean Kinkade. I won't reread those, but if you have any questions, I will try to answer those, but it looks like I only have one of them printed out, so in my packet.
I have a question.
Yes.
So I should know this, but I don't, so I apologize for that. So I see that they're being promoted to senior patrol officers. Is that, could you remind us, is that when they come in there in a category and then within so many years they get moved to this one? If they
Yeah.
complete,
So an officer's first year is their probationary year. Then they get promoted to officer first class, and that can be from 1 to 5 years of service. And sometimes people get promoted at 5. Sometimes they get promoted early. And so these two, and Captain Oldham, you can weigh in here because I only have one of the letters. I don't know if they're getting promoted earlier than 3 years is usually the earliest we would do. And I can't tell because I don't have the paperwork in front of me to get that print out. So
No,
can you help
both
me
of
with
these
that?
officers were right at their 5-year mark. Both were hired in May of 2016. Both have become instructors, FTOs, continue to lead their shifts in various both formal and informal ways. And it was a unanimous decision amongst their supervisors and the command staff that we request that you promote them to senior police officer effective yesterday. So it had been the 14th for purpose of pay purpose.
And Luis, the promotion order is probationary officer, officer first class, then senior police officer.
and if I may ask you just for my own purposes, what comes next after that?
So after that would be if an officer seeks to get promoted to a supervisory position. So next would be a sergeant's position, or they could go to detectives, which is it's not necessarily a promotion, but it's kind of a transfer to a different unit and a different job function.
I don't know if you can hear me. This is a jumping. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we
Yes.
can hear you.
Okay, it's been, so if you said it's 1 to 5 years, so it's the case that we hire a new officer within 5 years, they get promoted, or what happens if they don't get promoted? My point being, a different question, or same question, different way. Is this really a promotion or like a step forward? Is this what we do with our officers if they complete, if they're just doing their jobs, or is this really a promotion in the sense that you've earned it because you've
Yes.
done? Okay.
It's both. You can get it before 5 years if they are for a variety of reasons. But someone just working every day doing their job at 5 years is kind of that's the next step up.
If I can add, we expect the senior police officers to have mastered the functions of the patrol division. So that's why you have that time lag between officer first class and that 5 years, 3 years, whenever they can show where they have a mastery, usually where they've achieved the instructor level where they can teach it, is where we start seeing the senior police officer promotions.
Thank you.
All right. Can I get a motion to promote Officer Thomas Kreutzmann to Senior Police Officer effective Monday, June 14th, 2021?
So moved.
A second.
Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, will Nicole please call the roll?
All right. Kim,
Yes.
Rafi,
Yes.
Luis,
Yes.
Trudy.
Yes. I refigured my sound. I'm hoping I'm louder.
You're good. Yeah. So that motion carries. Thank you. All right. The promotion of Officer Sean Kinkade to Senior Police Officer. Can I get a motion to promote Officer Sean Kinkade to Senior Police Officer effective Monday, June 14th, 2021?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right. Hearing none, will Nicole please call the roll?
All right. Kim,
Yes.
Rafi,
Yes.
Luis,
Yes.
Trudy.
Yes.
All right, the motion carries. Thank you.
Kim,
Moving on to,
can I just add, I have to leave the meeting. I've got another thing that I have to attend, but I wanted to just jump down to the CERT ARV deployment report. We did have one this past month, and it was a call out that the sheriff's department had responded to a shots fired call, and they requested assistance of the CERT team, and so they were called out for that.
all righty. Thank you, Chief Dekoff. All right, moving to fire department business.
Okay, we'll do operational statistics. 52% of our call volume out of 2,162 calls over the first 5 months of the year were rescue or EMS related. Out of those, 1,956 of those calls occurred in city limits, with 206 calls being Indiana University or on the campus itself. We are on we're on pace for an all-time record for our call volume. That would be above 5,000 calls this year. To put that in perspective, we were at 3,700 calls 4 years ago. So our call volume has jumped exponentially over the last 4 years. And as you can see from 2020, we are way higher in volume than we were this time last year. Of course, COVID did have an effect on that, but 2019 was our record before that at around 4,400 calls. So we are seeing a whole lot of uptick in our call volume right now. And I don't really know exactly what to attribute that to, but maybe it's because people are starting to get out again and do some things. But either way, we're really busy. So, and then also 64% of that call volume over the overall 52% was EMS on Indiana University's campus for that 206 calls in the first 5 months. Response time goals. We are almost at our goal within 8 minutes of the scene at 96% of all of our calls. Our goal is 98% of the time. We have seen a decline on our 4-minute call down to 66%. And that fall off may be attributed to road construction and then also call volume. If the busier we are, and if we have an engine or a squad company or a ladder company that may be on the other side of town because the call volume's gone up, but they have to respond to another district because somebody's out of that district, then that affects that call volume. And of course, there is a lot of road construction right now. So we're looking into that, but that's what we're thinking that that fall off is attributed to. We don't have much of any inspection goal progress, but I will report that we are starting to get back out there. We were promoted internally a candidate, and we think that person's going to do a very good job. It's Bill Abram, who came actually from the police department, and he's going to be he's started inspections, and we're really happy with what we see right now. So anyway, you'll see that start to come up as well as we start getting back out in the public and start doing our contacts with the local businesses. And so we're real happy and pleased that we're able to do that. Training. The ironic thing is we are really exceeding our department goals in training. We had 4,402 training hours last month and 4,095 the month prior. And so we're really pleased with the effort that our crews are doing, especially in light that we're down right now. We have 12 recruits, new candidate recruits in the academy. That's about halfway over right now. and we just can't wait to get them out there at the end of July. But really, right now we're down 15 firefighters, so our crews are working a lot of overtime. That's also taxing on just mentally and physically. So we're really happy with all the training hours that they are putting that effort towards. We do have some. I'm pretty much done with my statistics now.
Okay. Moving on. Letters of appreciation and accommodation.
That's where I was going next.
Accommodation. Great.
Yeah. Letters of appreciation and accommodation. We have a couple here from Indiana University Police Academy. Our training division, specifically Tanya Daffron, our battalion chief of training, really led this effort with the Indiana University Police Department. The letters from Major Luce and Lieutenant Collins says, "Dear Tanya, thank you for taking the time to share your knowledge and expertise with the 48th Indiana University Police Academy this week. Your contribution and professionalism is greatly appreciated by the IUPA staff, the IUPA recruits, and the IUPD Cadet Officer Program." Goes on, and there's just a lot of great things that they or compliments they're paying to our chief of training, Tanya Daffron. And the reason is because they had an EMS scenario team. Goes on to say, thank you for all for helping to make the EMS scenarios educational, productive, and fun yesterday. As you all know, this was a new attempt at our EMS Awareness Week at the IU Police Academy, and we believe it came together so well. Thanks for your contribution. So we're really happy with our partners, not only at Bloomington Police Department, but also at the University Police Department. So
Fabulous. All right, any general business?
yeah, we have some general business. We did also participate in Touch a Truck as well. We have department-wide physicals that will start beginning tomorrow. Everybody receives as a benefit an annual physical and also blood work, for all members, and that starts tomorrow. We continue to put efforts out from our department to vaccinate persons that are homebound or we just recently partnered with the Indiana Recovery Alliance to vaccinate. I believe we had approximately 20 persons that accepted vaccinations with that. So we're still getting out there and trying to do our part to keep everybody healthy and be proactive in that. So that's really our general business for that.
All righty. Any expenditures we should have our eyes open for?
Yeah, we're going to end up spending a little bit of money at Station 4 for new flooring. The temperatures are rising right now, and the air conditioning went out at Station 4. Not a good thing in the bunk room for all the folks over there. So we are going to purchase a new furnace, an AC system, so HVAC system for both sides of the station. The flooring, I think, may still be the original from 1974. We're going to give them some new flooring. It could use it aesthetically and then also functionally. Station 2, the West Side Station, we just put a new parking lot. We did repairs on the parking lot. I don't know if you've been out there, but it was really was not good at all. And a lot of big 8-inch holes in the concrete. We got that repaired, so that's going to be about $6,000. We are doing a project in the Bay, and once we're finished in July, I'd love to have you guys out to take a look at it. I think it's going to be something we can all be really proud of. But that bay floor is over 20 years old. As you know, the trucks that we have now still, have things that go wrong. But the ones that we had before that were 20 years old really had things that went wrong and leaked a lot of oil and even diesel fuel on those base floors. So we're going to put what essentially is an epoxy and down in that bay, and we're going to put some warning lanes, and it's going to look great, I think, when it's done. And so you'll see that, and that'll be around $20,000.
Is that epoxy over cement?
Yeah, it's, and I'm not a concrete guru by any stretch of the imagination, but they're chemical names. We've vetted it out with other fire departments that have done it in Marion County, and went and looked at their work, and we were really impressed by it, and we think we deserve it here as well. And it's guaranteed for, I believe, 10 years. So we feel like it's an investment. So.
All righty, thank you.
Yep.
Personnel issues.
None to speak of, other than we have we're down essentially 2 firefighters with the rest of the candidates in the academy. We have 2 on light duty. We're hoping to get 1 back Friday, and then we have 1 out sick.
All righty, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, I don't believe we have any old business unless somebody raises their hand about that. Okay. We had the CERT ARV deployment report. New business, the virtual meeting policy. I think Chris is going to be covering this for us.
Good evening, Chris Wheeler with City Legal. Please bear with me as I go through this policy. I'm going to read the resolution for the board. This is resolution 2021-01, and it is a resolution by this board to adopt written policy on remote attendance of board meetings and subcommittee meetings by members of the Board of Public Safety. And the reason why we're bringing this up is at the end of the month, it is anticipated that the governor is not going to renew provisions of his executive orders that allow governing bodies, boards, commissions, councils to meet 100% virtually anymore. The only reason we were allowed to do these virtual meetings is because of the executive order. But in the meantime, our state legislature passed a law that allows boards to meet in hybrid when there is not an executive order declaring an emergency that would allow such things like full virtual meetings. And so in order to avail ourselves of the opportunity to meet in hybrid session, which is some of us in person and some of us electronically, we would have to pass written policy that essentially mirrors the statute and sets us up to be able to meet in that hybrid fashion. And so that's why we're going to talk about this tonight, because the next meeting will be in July, and it'll be after the time that the executive orders have expired for 100% virtual meeting. And we might like to have the option of meeting in hybrid if we can. And I say that because not all of our meeting rooms have the technology right now at City Hall to facilitate hybrid meetings. So if we cannot find a place for us to meet in City Hall on a given day and time, then we won't be able to avail ourselves of hybrid meetings anyway. But someday down the road, we might be able to do so, and it'd be nice to have this policy in place so that if and when we can, we're already set up to do so. Any questions so far before I launch into this? Good. So the resolution is basically a recitation of the fact that the Indiana General Assembly adopted a House bill in 2021 regular session that amended Indiana Code 5-14-1.5-1 and amends 5-14-1.5-3.5 and allows new requirements by which members of governing bodies, such as this one, to have members meet by an electronic means of communication. It also says, whereas a member of the governing body may participate by means of communication that allows all participating members of the governing body to simultaneously communicate with each other, and except for a meeting that we have in executive session, would also allow the public to simultaneously attend and observe the meeting. And whereas the act requires the governing body to adopt a written policy establishing the procedures that apply to a member's participation in a meeting by an electronic means of communication, and allows the governing body to adopt procedures that are more restrictive than the procedures that have been adopted by the state legislature. And whereas the Bloomington, hang on a second, I need to scroll down. Whereas the Bloomington Board of Public Safety is the governing body of the City of Bloomington, Indiana Police and Fire Departments, and wishes to adopt such a policy. And whereas a written policy establishing the procedures that apply to a member's participation in a meeting by an electronic means of communication has been prepared and is more fully set forth in the attached Exhibit A. And then we say, now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Public Safety for the City of Bloomington, Monroe County, Indiana, that the written policy attached as Exhibit A is hereby adopted and shall be in full force and effect from and after its adoption by the Board of Public Safety. And so adopted on today's date, June 15th, 2021, it would be signed by the President, Kimberly Gray. It'll be attested by Nicole Bolden as our recording secretary. Exhibit A is the written policy and goes through the application and its electronic participation, which is to allow at least 2 of our board members on any given public meeting to meet electronically. Now, the language is a little weird because we say that the people who participate electronically can form the quorum, but there is in the state's statute a requirement that the quorum actually has to be met by those who meet physically in person. So that's why we can only have up to 2 of our members at any given meeting meeting electronically, and the other 3 would have to be in person so that the quorum is created by that physical presence of the 3. I hope that makes sense. Any questions? Excellent.
Yeah, I have a quick question.
Go ahead, Louise.
So you're saying you are part of the quorum for the meeting, but until there's a vote, and then you're not part of the quorum anymore if you're hybrid, correct?
I don't understand why the legislative body chose the language that it did, because it doesn't make any sense. I can't think of a situation where you help make the quorum and yet more than those who make the quorum can attend. You'd have to have a large body, I would think, and your quorum standards would have to be different. In our case, we need a quorum of 3. That's what our bylaws and that's what our ordinance requires. 3 makes the quorum. And so we have to have 3 physically present to make the quorum. I don't know how it makes sense, but that's the way it works. And so,
okay.
Yeah, so okay. Yeah, you're right. If we had only 3 people meeting, 2 physically and 1 electronically, we wouldn't be able to vote because we wouldn't have an actual by statute quorum that allows us to pass formal action as a governing body. So the rest then goes on to just kind of talk about how we meet. You have to be able to see and hear those folks who are meeting electronically. They also have to be able to see and hear the other members. So everybody has to be able to see and hear everybody. And the public has to be able to attend and see and hear everybody. And that's what we do now. But the hybrid actually allows, with the technology, you can have the 3 members of the board meet physically, and you can see all of them in the boardroom, wherever that's going to be, whatever meeting room we have. And then the other 2 members can also be seen. And we'll still go through Zoom. We'll still use that platform or any other platform that the ITS at City Hall deems acceptable as a preferred method for conducting these types of meetings. But right now it's Zoom, that's what we use, and we'll continue to do so. There's a restriction on how many times a board member throughout the course of a year can meet electronically, and that is that you can't attend electronically greater than 50% of the time, unless it's because of military service, illness, or other medical condition, death of a relative, or an emergency involving actual or threatened injury to persons.
Chris,
Yes.
just very briefly, when it says that, or to go back to members that attend virtually, does that mean that, I guess, at no time can our screens be, we can't use the stop video function?
You have to be visible. Now, if there's a technical difficulty and you cannot continue to attend, it doesn't nullify the meeting. We can continue because our quorum is being met by those who are physically present. But if for some reason we can't see you, you can't participate in the vote as a member who is meeting electronically. If we can't for some reason hear you, but you're giving a thumbs up, you can't participate in the vote. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So
There's
that's
also
going to, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go right ahead.
I was just going to say, so this means some coordination before, some planning and coordination, and we need to give a full week notice. So I know for me, I mean, I will, if I'm in town, I'm going to attend in person. So, so we have the greatest chance of, obviously a quorum.
Yeah.
As well.
There's also a restriction on how many times you can meet electronically consecutively. So you can attend 2 consecutive public meetings, but then you got to take a break. That's a set of meetings. And you can meet 2 consecutive times, but then you got to take a break, and then you can come back and do it again, as long as you don't get past that 50%. All votes when we are in hybrid will be taken by roll call. And then in the minutes of the meeting, you'll see, and we've started doing this anyway, is to list each member, whether they were in person or electronically, and how they voted, yes or no. And that way you can actually see in the minutes how everybody participated. And I think that's just to help the state, if they were ever to audit, to see that we're actually following the rules, or it would also help the public to review and make sure that we're following the rules, the laws. That's pretty much it. I kind of nutshelled it. So I'm happy to continue to answer questions if you have any. And if not, it is staff's recommendation to adopt this policy by the resolution through a vote of approval.
Can I get a motion to approve resolution 2021-01?
I actually had a question before that. I think this may be outside the scope of the resolution, but I'm wondering, I feel like the opportunity to meet electronically has probably helped members of the public, or people who might not have mobility or something like that. And I'm wondering if there are any plans to keep that option for members of the public who want to join the meetings.
That's a good question, and it is a little outside of the scope of this, but it's certainly appropriate to talk about. I don't know. I think that the general policy is going to be to continue to have the meetings be held on some electronic platform, whether we're still doing it in a Zoom fashion, so that the public can continue to choose to attend virtually if they wish to. I think that's going to be the policy going forward forever, because I think everybody has seen that same thing, is that we're getting greater, I don't think we have any tonight, unfortunately, but we get greater participation from the public across the board when we're doing things this way to make it more convenient for the public to join in. So yes, to my knowledge, all public meetings going forward will be electronic, because the statute doesn't address whether staff members or the public can attend electronically. This is just for the actual governing body.
Mhm.
So even if we just had 3 of you in a room, everybody else could be virtual. All of the staff members, the chiefs, the deputy chiefs, all the recording secretary, and all of the public, which that might be kind of weird, but you might get used to it over time.
I'm glad you asked that question, Trudy. I made the assumption that the public would continue to be able to participate remotely. So I'm glad you asked the question.
Yeah, I just think that would be helpful, as you said, and perhaps an issue for the room setup, right? Depending on what rooms we get. But thank you. I appreciate that. And I didn't see it addressed in the resolution, so I understand it's not part of this vote, but I was just curious.
All righty. Can I get a motion to approve resolution 2021-01?
I move to approve resolution 2021.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Is there
And
any
just,
more?
just to keep the record clear, the motion, Shruti, is to approve resolution 2021-01, correct?
Correct. Thank you.
Yep.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, will Nicole please call the roll?
Yes. Kim,
Yes.
Rafi,
Yes.
Shruti,
Yes.
Luis.
Yes.
All righty. Do we have any members of the public? Oh, the motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chris. Do we have any members of the public who wish to speak under the Petitions and Communications? 3 minutes per person. So I don't see anybody.
I
Nicole?
don't see any members of the public.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.